discussed this certain topic in my videos before. I mean, I'm sure I've said the word before, but I was thinking about what I want to do in this video, and I noticed that my most recent one was a scary story one, and I didn't want to go back to back with that, so this time we're going to be discussing aliens, beings that are not from this world. Before we even get into it, I would love to know what you think, if you believe in aliens, if you've had any experiences. I think it is very, very interesting. I think we all are interested in aliens. I mean, how could you not? Something that is not on our planet that seems to have very, very, very powerful technology that we do not yet have. It's very interesting. For me, I can say I definitely believe in it, but I don't know. That's really it. I think that we are not the only life forms in this universe, galaxy at all. I think that would be pretty ignorant and arrogant to think. And there's a lot of interesting perspectives on it. You know, if you listen to podcasts or maybe even a lot of YouTube videos from Ancient Aliens, the show, I used to watch that. It is very interesting. So I would love to hear if you believe in it or not, and why you do or do not believe in aliens, that you believe they exist, because I find that very interesting, and it always leads to a good conversation. So when you want to know what the people think, or if you want to hear somebody's story, you turn to Reddit. Now, I will say, before I read these Reddit alien invasion stories, some of them might be made up. I don't know. I have not read anything yet. I have skimmed through a couple, but not enough reading to decipher if they are real or not. Technically, I will never know. You would never know if these stories are real or not, because anybody can get on Reddit and type that, you know. So I'm going to read them anyways. But yes, please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And thank you very much for the support. So, I have never thought that I have been, well, let me say this. I've never believed that I was ever abducted or taken somewhere else by an alien life form or anything like that before. The only thing I remember when I was younger, so for some reason, every time I would sleep when I was younger, I would always wake up and I'd find myself like wrapped up in a cocoon, in my bed sheets, my comforter. Like it would be wrapped underneath my back. I think that was just me rolling around, but I'm getting somewhere with this. Give me 1 second. So I would wake up all the time and I'd be completely wrapped in my own comforter, probably because I'm turning left and right and eventually I get wrapped up. Whatever. I was comfy. It was nice, you know, being snuggled by my blanket. Who doesn't like being snuggled? But, so there were more than one occasion where I would wake up and I'd find myself like almost like off of my bed, like as if somebody like it sounds so goofy, and it probably was all me. I believe that it was most likely it was just me moving in my sleep, which I don't tend to do, but you're sleeping, so you don't know. Like, I was told that I snore. I didn't believe it until I heard a recording of me snoring. You're sleeping, so you don't know, and you hear yourself snoring, you're like, wow, that's pretty annoying. So I just felt, it was weird, because I just wake up with like my legs off the bottom half of the bed and my upper torso was still laying on the bed. And I'm thinking, like, how the heck did I end up like this? It's as if like somebody took me off the bed and threw me back on the bed. And I because when I was younger, my mom and my sister just did not care. They were just like walk in, knock on the door. I'm like, yo, can I get some privacy, please? I'm showering. Or when I'm sleeping, you just want to know. Nobody's walking in this mother effer unless they knock the door down, and that'll wake me up. So that's really the only thing I have. I don't have any, like, oh, I saw a green light, and then I woke up 6 hours later, and then I had a weird scratch on my abdomen because I took my spleen out. I don't have anything like that. I just thought it was weird. I was like, how the hell? I'd like wake up and be like, how the hell did I wake up halfway on the bed? Like, the foot of the bed, only my waist up is on the bed. My legs are like off the bed. Literally, it's like somebody threw me on the bed after taking me off of it, because I know I didn't lay down like that. I lay down where your head always goes on the bed, where the pillows are. So, I don't know. Could have been just me moving around. So, and the only time I can say I've ever seen a UFO was me and my friends, probably like 5 or 6 of us were at the beach around like probably 9:30, 10:30 at night. And, you know, we got like 2 of my friends over there talking. 3 of us were like laying down on our backs, looking at the sky, just, you know, talking, hanging out. We're all just chilling. And my friend Lucas points up and he goes, dude, look at that. And it was dark and it was at the beach, so you could see more stars than usual. And I remember, he's like, look at that star. That star is moving. And we're like, okay, no more weed for you. We're like, what are you talking about? And it was me, Lucas, and Marcos laying down on our backs, looking up, side by side on the sand. And like I said, my friends were over there talking. And I'm staring at this star, and it's literally a tiny white dot amongst all the other white dots, but it's like moving like this. It's just moving, and we're following it. I'm like, dude, I'm like freaking out, because I'm not just seeing this. I'm with Lucas and Marcos, so I know I'm not going crazy. I know I'm not seeing something, because we got 2 other people watching this, seeing this. My other 2 friends couldn't find it. We were trying to show them, like, dude, look. They couldn't find it, and it was like, it was moving around. And then what I remember is, I don't know if it went to its exact spot original spot, but I remember it went to a spot and just stopped moving. Like, it went back into place, and it never moved again the rest of the night. And that was the only time I can ever say I've seen a UFO. My friend Matt, who was also there that night, told me a story before, another separate time, probably like a year or 2 later, that him and his brother were driving like on a highway where it's just nothing but trees next to you. And he said, like, right above the tree line there was a light that was like low, and it was like keeping up with their car, and he did not know what it was. He knew it wasn't a plane or anything like that, but he said, like, it freaked him and his brother out. They both saw it. So, and I believe Matt. I don't think he would lie about that. And the way he told the story was pretty convincing. It's very interesting, you know. I'm sure if I like saw an alien like creeping around the backyard or something, it would freak me out for sure. I wouldn't be like, ooh, let me go ask it questions. I'm sure I'd be terrified. But it's really interesting and really cool whenever you see something you can't explain. Now, sometimes things are explainable. Most of the time, things are explainable. They have an explanation to them, because we don't understand everything. I don't understand how the atmosphere works all the time, or how the light spectrum works, how light bounces off other things, and maybe it makes something look like it's moving, or like I've seen those videos of like floating cities and stuff like that. I don't think that's real. I also believe anything's possible. Life is crazy. But you know, if there is the floating city in the sky, it could easily just be some weird reflection. And I'm not the type to always be like, nah, there's an explanation. I have a very open mind. I'll say is there's not necessarily very good video, HD quality video of a UFO that I've seen. There is that one, the infamous Tic Tac video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up on YouTube. There were military pilots, I believe. I might not get this word for word, so please take it easy. Military pilots caught this thing. They called it the Tic Tac, and it was moving at speeds that was like amazing speeds, and it would stop on a dime, and I believe it dropped into the ocean at insane speeds. And they got even, I think they were having trouble getting a lock on it. I think they disabled their lock system, the UFO did, or whatever. That's the most convincing video I know about. I know there's a couple others out there. There's a ton of documentaries on them. I mean, if you go to Hulu, Netflix, Disney, Tubi, HBO Max, Peacock, if you just type in aliens, there's going to be at least 5 different documentaries or movies giving their stories on that. And it's just really hard to believe people, because a lot of people make up stuff for clicks, for views, to be cool, to fit in, whatever. I'm sure we've all done that on some level, whether it's you lie about seeing a movie. You know, if all your friends are like, yeah, that movie Rush Hour was badass, and you're like, oh yeah, I saw that, that was really good, but you didn't fucking see it. Excuse my language. So, you know, like, you can watch these documentaries and all that, but I mean, I do. I enjoy the documentaries a lot. Sorry. I'm trying to sign into my MacBook. Okay. And there are some very convincing stories. I know, like, pretty much it's either you believe people or you think they're doing it for attention. And I can't imagine. I want you to seriously think about this. If you were laying down on the beach or in your backyard or driving home or to work and you genuinely saw something, that freaked you out, that was not of this world, whether it was a ship landing, a ship flying past you, something following you, but alien-wise, I mean, not ghosts, not spirits, aliens. Imagine if you genuinely saw it, you know you saw it, and nobody believes you. And people say, oh, you're just doing that so you can get clicks, or you're just doing that so you can get views, subscribers, attention, clout, whatever you want to call it. I can imagine that being very frustrating at the same time. But I also, if you were to ask me to give you the absolute truth, I believe most people do make stuff up or they've seen something. What I would like to know with most of these alien abduction stories or alien stories is, and I'm not joking, were you on drugs? And if you were, that kind of, I don't know, it kind of disrupts your story a little bit, to be honest. Just my opinion. Again, the night that I saw the UFO, I saw with 2 of my other friends, we did indulge in cannabis use. So, is that hypocritical? Probably. But I'm telling you, there were 2 other people there that saw it too, and one of them did not indulge in cannabis. So take what you want with that. And this was like, probably like 5 or 6 years ago. I've never seen anything like that till then. Besides seeing the SpaceX launches, I remember I got out of the car and I saw this thing in the sky. If I have the picture, if I remember, I'll try to put it in the video. But it was just, it looked so cool. I've never seen anything like it. But knowing that it was I had a feeling it was a SpaceX launch because I've seen pictures of it before. I saw this huge, like, aura other satellites. But I don't think it was other satellites, because as the thing's going across the sky and the 4 dots are like trailing behind it, when it got to like my far right where I almost was out of sight, the 4 dots went that way, and the main launch kept on going this way. So I think it was jets, because once it got a certain distance, they kind of left it alone, and then the launch was by itself. It was a really cool visual, very cool visual. So yes, please let me know. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. But yeah, please let me know in the comments if you have seen anything like that. Sorry, I just put my headphones down. I hope that wasn't too loud. Okay, so I'm gonna read a couple of these. I did not think I would ramble for 17 minutes, but 18 minutes in 10 seconds. Okay. This is from Donkey Rocket from 1 year ago. And remember, let's take these stories with a grain of salt. Keep an open mind. But don't believe everything you hear, and don't disbelieve everything you hear. Keep it in the middle, my suggestion. I heard this story from a friend about this fella who saw a bright light in the sky and stood there staring at it. The bright light came closer and closer, and it was a UFO. Let's go over one thing real quick before I go on. UFO stands for Unidentified Flying Object. I know they have a new one. I think it's called UAP, Unnatural Aerial Phenomenon. I kind of like that one a little bit better, because UFO is Unidentified Flying Object. That means if there's a kite with lights on the sky, but you don't recognize it to be a kite, that's a UFO, because it's unidentified. It's flying and it's an object. Or it could be an alien spaceship. But I'm just saying. So that's something to keep in mind at the same time. Just because you see something you don't understand does not mean it's not from this world. He looked at it and it just disappeared. Thinks that's weird. Think it's in his car. As he's driving, he looks in the mirror and he suddenly got a beard. He gets home to his girlfriend, is looking at him a bit funny. He says to her, I got out of the car to look at a bright light. When I got back in the car, I had grown a beard. She says, never mind the beard. Where have you been for 3 days? Okay, I'm calling BS on that. This one's from Destiny Kane, 1 year ago. I used to think aliens were trying to abduct me. Terrified for years. Watched a documentary on sleep paralysis and realized that what was really happening to me. That's what was really happening to me. From that point on, when I had sleep paralysis, I knew what was happening and wasn't as terrified. Plus, my husband started noticing the signs and would quickly pull me out of it. Well, that's good. I'm happy it brought down their terrifying level. Okay, so this is a really long one. This is really long. Okay. So this is either, I'm going to read it. It's pretty wordy. This is from Sweet Tart 05, 1 year ago. Again, this is on the Ask Reddit. Again, one thing I'll say is, if somebody writes this much, like this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 small paragraphs, probably like 6 to 7 sentences in each one, or 6 or 7 sentences, 6 or 7 lines, whatever. And whenever they write this much, I feel like it's worth hearing them out, because they have a lot to say. They're either a great screenwriter or this is real. So, let's see. I'm massively late to this thread, but I have a real story. When I was young, neighborhood kids used to play dark hide and seek or dark capture the flag, often late at night. Our parents were okay with it as long as we didn't leave the neighborhood. It was the early 90s. We were basically thrown out of the house on weekends. Anyway, one night after the game was over and everyone had gone home, my stepsister and I were hanging out in our front yard, just sitting on one of those green cable boxes talking. I've been there before. At one point, she stops talking and points to the sky and asks about a light in the sky. I turn and look and see it myself. The light was faint blue. It was brighter and bigger than the stars around it. It was moving in ways that seemed impossible, and it became aware we were looking at it as soon as I locked eyes on it. I don't know how to describe that I knew that. It was just this immediate feeling that it was looking right back at us. Suddenly, the light moved towards us almost in the blink of an eye. It went from being roughly double the size of a star in the sky to as bright as an airplane or helicopter searchlight instantly. There was no sound, and light didn't illuminate the sounding area, which gave it a weird feeling. I tried to say something to my sister, but I found myself unable to speak, and I could suddenly barely move. I just remember turning my head to see my sister looking very scared, also unable to speak or move. I thought I heard a noise, and the light started shining on me, which made me turn my head back towards the object. Then I felt a piercing light behind me. I was like bathed in the blue light. After things get a bit hazy, like I was meant to not remember it, even though certain moments are as plain as my memory from that time. As plain as any memory from that time. I was in a place that was mostly dark, but there was lights that seemed to hover by themselves with no visible technologies, pole, etc., holding them up. I don't know if I was laying down or standing up because there was a feeling of no gravity or downward force in any direction. I remember interacting with an entity that was humanesque but seemed to be different. Like a beautiful person, but they had no male or female characteristics. Completely androgynous, but very symmetrical and smooth appearance to the face and body. Otherwise, very human looking. They talked to me, but I was acutely aware that it was in my head and not out loud. It was like moments of being conscious with moments of haziness in between. I don't know how to describe it. I was aware that they were doing things to me, but I don't remember what. But I do distinctly remember a piercing device they inserted just behind my ear on the right side. It went pretty deep, but it didn't hurt. It just felt almost itchy for a second. Then they told me they were taking a sample and depositing something that would allow them to remotely monitor me for some time. They explained that this was not the first time they had done this to me specifically, that they would continue to do so throughout my life, and that there were literally thousands of people they were doing this to. It was a scientific study of some kind that they tried to explain to me, but honestly, I don't remember the purpose. I was able to ask them a few other things at the moments of being conscious, like where my sister was, and they explained she was having the same thing done to her. I asked them to point blank if they were aliens, and they found it humorous, and they told me they were humans from the future. But I got the distinct feeling that this wasn't the truth. Again, I don't know how to describe why I thought this. It was just a different feeling when they told me this versus the other things they were saying. It felt like a lie or a simplification of some kind. After some time of being out of it again, I became aware that my body was bathed in blue light again, and the darkness started to recede, and I was able to see the stars and sky again. I don't know how long it was before I really understood where I was, but at some point I sort of came to and realized I was sitting on the grass next to my sister in the neighbor's yard, about 50-60 feet from their original spot. My sister came to almost at the same time. We both immediately looked at each other, and then the sky and the light was gone. but the sun wasn't coming up. It was then we realized it had been hours. Oh, the sun was coming up. It was then we realized it had been hours. We didn't really talk about what happened. We just felt the need to go inside and go to bed before we got in trouble. It was years later before I spoke to my sister about that night, and she remembers much less than I do. Let me stop real quick. The only thing that is, obviously this story is pretty wild, but if all that's true, and this happened to you, and you know what just happened, even if you were hazy out of it, whatever, you are next to your sister after all this, and you guys don't talk about it until years later, I would have been freaking out talking about it for weeks right there, right then and there, right when I realized what happened. That's where I start thinking okay, is this a good story? Let's continue. It was years later before I ever spoke to my sister about that night, and she remembers much less than I do. She remembers seeing the light, being blinded by it, and then feeling weird, and then waking up beside me. To this day, she has explained it away by us seeing a helicopter in the sky and just falling asleep because we were tired. She won't discuss it beyond that. Honestly, I had forgotten about this event until 2 years ago when my wife mentioned that I had a spot behind my right ear that kind of looked like a burn mark or a scar, but also like a pimple/mole. She likes to pop things. It was time to let her try to pop it. When she reminded me of it, the memories of the event flooded back into my head, and I was a bit emotional, but agreed to let her mess with it. She tried to pop it, but said nothing came out. It's still there and looks exactly as she describes it, kind of like a mole, but also kind of like a star. I've had MRIs and other scans throughout the years, but nothing has ever shown up, so I have no idea what it is or if anything is inside there. I try not to think of it now because although I wasn't scared at the time, it is unnerving to think about now. That's my story, as honestly as I remember it. Okay. Any chance you can take it? So somebody left a comment and said, any chance you could take a picture and share it? I don't know if you can see that. Right there. That bump in this square right here. Right here. At least they put a picture up. That's very interesting. Let me know what you guys think. Do you believe in aliens? Have you had your own experience?